Have you ever been anxious to fill up at a gas station simply because you're afraid of being talked to? This isn't something most of the men in my life report ever worrying about. Kind of strange, but it happens to me all of the time. And I've had a lot of weird gas station encounters, and I'm going to share 5 of them with you today. The last one is really important, and it's the one that inspired me to make this video, and I hope this video is short, so just see it all the way through, because the final message is really important to me. So, the first encounter was actually my first time ever pumping gas. I was 16 and I had just passed driver's ed, but the test that I had yet to pass was how to fill up on gas. My mother's advice to me when I called her was just fill it up with the cheapest option. And at that time, that was diesel fuel. And if you've ever made this mistake before, you know that diesel nozzles don't fit in the hole for regular tanks. So just when I was about to give up, these 2 male truckers approached me. Both of them were middle-aged, one was white and one was Latino. By the way, I'll just mention that I'm not going to spare you any details about the story for the sake of being politically correct. The characters in these true stories I'm about to share are biological males, and apart from this story, they are all African American. So Hank and Pedro, which are 2 completely made-up names, see that I'm struggling and huffing like the teenager that I am, and they come over to help me. Hank is able to somehow fill the tank at little increments at a time, and then Pedro takes over when Hank's hand gets tired. And all the while, there's this feeling in the back of my head that I'm doing something wrong. And the feeling was confirmed when Hank was like, "Are you sure this Jeep Cherokee is a diesel?" And I look at him all wide-eyed, and I'm like, do I look like I'm sure about anything? Anyways, the mystery was solved, and that was my first time pumping gas. The next story is a great example of why people who look like me fear going to gas stations anytime at night. This story happened at 2 in the morning. I thought I was all alone in a station until a man came out of his car, which was parked next to the food shop, and he asked me if I wanted to buy a taser. But I didn't hear him the first time, so I was like, what? And then he said it the second time, and then he just fired it off. Just so I could be sure the product worked. I lost the taser in that video, and I've been wanting a new one, actually, but obviously in this situation, I was like, no thanks! And I pulled out of that gas station faster than sex with a hooker. So, story number 3 is back in daylight. I pulled up to the gas station. Coming in from behind me was this man who literally looked and acted like he could be a ballroom house mother.
LaBeija is the legendary house above all of them. I have the most members. I'm the most popular. New York City is wrapped up in being LaBeija. So it speaks for itself.
He was fairly thin, dark chocolate skin, wearing a trendy blue bandana around his neck, came up to me and was like, "Ooh, girl, you are a commodity." But I knew he wasn't talking about my appearance. He was talking about my car, which is clearly awesome. So we started chatting, and he went into this really poetic monologue. "Ever since I freed myself from the chains of my conformity, I am living my truth. I do it for my brothers. I do it for my sisters. I do it for my mother. I do it for my daughter." But when I tried to offer him one of my comic books, he was like, "There aren't enough pictures in this for me, honey." And there's literally a picture on every page, so I was like, okay. Story 4 is kind of cute. So there was these 2 young boys offering to wash my windows at a gas station. And I don't usually say yes to people who do that, but these boys couldn't have been out of middle school. They were so small. It was a hot summer day, so I said sure, and I bought the boy a large bottle of ice cold water, and I handed it to him along with $1. And it was kind of funny and kind of rewarding in a weirdly motherly way, because when I drove away, I was watching those boys out the rear view, and they clearly didn't realize how thirsty they were, even though they were drinking soda and eating candy. They were both taking turns chugging the bottle and kind of passing it back and forth to each other with like these exasperated gestures like, The final story, which happened to me last night, is where I realized that maybe by avoiding interactions, women contribute to the progression of the problem that is the aggressive male gaze. Because the more submissive that you are, the more dominant they become. So if you want to see the world change, the very least that you can do is be assertive and shout, "Leave me the f*** alone!" Because that'll really startle a mother. and maybe they'll actually start leaving alone. I'd just come back from my parents' house and I hadn't smoked in a while and I was really craving a head change. So I told myself, you're gonna pull over at the next gas station and manifest some weed. And surely enough, there was 2 young men hanging outside of this gas station. I gave them more eyes than I needed to because they were already staring me down. I already had their attention. When I exited the shop, one of them kind of followed me around and approached me with this like timid back and forth swagger. Of course, the question he asked was the only stupid question that exists, which is,
can I have your number? Could I have it? Could I have it?
Whenever I get asked my least favorite question, I always feel this urge to school the person on why that is the most self-defeating question. But usually what I do is I ignore them and I scurry away. So I took this as an opportunity to school some motherfuckers. I invited them to sit in my cool-ass car, smoke some of their weed with me. I felt pretty safe about it, mostly because my dog was with me and he was already feeling the I want to stick my penis inside her energy coming from these guys. So he was like on close guard. They were scared of my dog. I was like, just be calm, let him sniff your hand. And they both passed that test, which is good. So they both passed the doggy test, but I think I only got one of them to understand the importance of not approaching a woman with that, can I have your number question.
Can I please receive the secret code that if entered telephonically, it will patch me through to you, which means it'll be your beautiful ass number?
This is how I did it. Lil D and Lil Joey are 27 and 32, hanging around a gas station without a car. Once we got in my car and we got smoking, they both started talking to me at the same time. They were kind of both trying to flirt with me on their own accord. And I was like, whoa! Both of you need to stop talking over each other. At this point, Lil D was like in his own world, so I focused on Lil Joey, who apologized for talking even though D was the one who started talking over him. He was the one who came up to me and asked me for my number, so I say to Lil Joey, why did you ask that question before you even asked me what my name was? And he was like, well, you know, when you get a chance like that, you only got a couple minutes. So I tell him that approach is going to lower your imaginary time bomb to a couple seconds, because if a woman feels like she's worth at least one she has to get to know a couple facts about somebody and connect with them before she just freely gives away her information. So we chatted some more, and then Lil Joey tried to kiss my hand as a goodbye when I offered him my fist for a bump, and I pulled away my hand and I was like, look, if you want my respect, you have to respect what I want. I want you to treat me like the homie, okay? And that word, the homie, that means something to all three of us. It means brother. And that doesn't mean I want them to treat me like a boy. Really, I mean, see me for who I am as a person before you treat me like fresh meat. And I think that in that moment, it clicked for Lil Joey. He said, all right, I see you. And then he gave me a fist bump. I think that it also helped that he witnessed his friend who got way too high and was being an idiot to me. It helped him see how bad that looks. So meanwhile, Lil D is still mumbling to himself about when he gets his phone fixed, he's gonna give me a call because he's about to make me his wife. And I'm like, did you not just hear what I said to Lil Joey? He's like, no, of course, I respect women too, blah, blah, blah. And I pulled out of the parking lot because I'd already kicked them out by this point, and I yelled out to them, respect isn't what you think respect is. It's listening to what the other person asks of you. And then I looked Lil Joey dead in the eyes and I said, you'll teach him. And then I drove away. And it was really, really satisfying. So I think I'm gonna keep doing weird stuff like that until maybe one day some crazy motherfucker shoots me, because I want to be the change in the world, and change works by clearly communicating with people. I got through to one person even though I couldn't get through to both of them, and I still see that as a win. Yeah, wish me luck. Like, I hope I don't get raped and murdered someday, but you know, I'm not gonna give up. I'm very Rosa Parks about this. Like, no, you, standing my ground. I can walk in the world and feel free to do whatever I like and talk to people, even though I carry this body that is usually like, no, run away, like, protect yourself, be safe. No, I am not gonna keep that going. That's over, and it's starting with me.